I slipped away quietly after finding out my wife had been unfaithful 3 years into our marriage. About a year later, after I'd vanished from her life, she somehow managed to track me down. When I learned she was cheating, I packed up and headed for the hills. I'm not really sure why I'm sharing this now, but maybe someone out there will get something useful from it. The whole ordeal is behind me now, and I've moved on. It all started back in March 2017, when I found out she'd been having an affair after we'd been married just over 3 years. Back then, I had a contract job that involved quite a bit of travel, though I could also work from home whenever I wasn't on the road. My wife had a high-paying job as a director at a tech sales company. Our schedules weren't doing us any favors. She was working longer and longer hours, and I was flying in and out for work. Still, I thought we had a solid marriage, all things considered. To back up a bit, I met my now ex-wife about 5 years earlier at a cookout hosted by someone we both knew. We hit it off right away. I honestly felt lucky to be dating someone who was so sharp and attractive. I was a bit rough around the edges, but she seemed to like that about me. After a few weeks of dating, we fell pretty hard for each other. Whenever we met up at each other's apartments, it was all passion. 5 years later, we tied the knot and moved into a spacious apartment while saving for a house. But after our third anniversary, things started to shift. I still cared about her, but I noticed she'd pick fights over little things. If I brought up her late nights or all the work events she kept going to, she'd get defensive and angry. She said that climbing the corporate ladder meant putting in the hours, and that I had no room to talk since I was gone for work a lot too. But the truth is, I was only away for about few days every month. I told her I'd be happy to travel less if that would help. But our arguments just kept going in circles, never really getting resolved. Looking back, I was blind to the fact that she was seeing someone else. Apart from our sex life cooling off and her constant late nights, I didn't notice anything that seemed off. I just figured work was draining her. Still, being turned down so often when I tried to be intimate really wore down my confidence. She had a work phone, and maybe she was using that for private messages. I never saw the kind of secretive texting people talk about. She spent a lot of time working in the spare bedroom we'd turned into a home office. By the time August 2016 rolled around, she was coming home from work only to head right back out again for so-called work functions. What started as one night a week turned into 3 or more. I've never been the jealous type, but I knew she worked with mostly men, and it wasn't lost on me that some of them probably made advances. Still, she always acted like her career was her only focus. The first time I truly felt like something was wrong happened a month before everything came crashing down. She stopped at the store on her way home, and when I went out to help carry groceries from the car, I spotted something pink tucked beneath the front passenger seat. It was one of her bras, and not just any bra. I recognized it as one of her favorites from a shop she liked. That moment still sticks with me. Seeing the bra instantly made me feel sick. I knew from experience that when she was feeling frisky, she'd slip her bra off under her clothes first thing. That's what made it even worse. I couldn't understand why it was under the seat like that. I didn't say a word. My heart was racing so hard I thought I might collapse. When I walked back into the kitchen with the bags, she looked at me and said I looked like I'd seen a ghost, asked if I was all right. I brushed it off and said nothing. It took every ounce of willpower to hold back how I was really feeling, but I managed to keep a straight face. That night and into the next day, I started trying to piece things together, anything I might have missed. Aside from the bra, I didn't have much to go on. She worked downtown in a high-rise, and we lived in a decent-sized city, so snooping wouldn't be easy. I decided to put the idea of an affair out of my head, at least for the time being, and just focus on giving her more of my attention. One Friday after work, I went all out. I cooked a nice dinner, set the table with our best plates and silverware, lit a few candles, even picked up some flowers and a good bottle of wine. When she got home, breezing in like she always did, I pointed everything out, hoping she'd be surprised or at least touched. She glanced at it, then apologized and said she had to meet her coworkers at some nearby bar. Said she'd take a quick shower but could have a small bite with me before heading out. I think I just went quiet. My stomach flipped and everything inside me twisted. I can't even describe the kind of anger I felt in that moment, but I'd had enough. While she was in the shower, I took my work phone and tossed it into the back seat of her car. I'd been thinking about using it to track her if I ever needed to. Then I walked back inside and dumped the food and flowers straight into the trash. She came out of the bathroom looking gorgeous, as always. "All right, let's eat," she said with a smile. "Never mind," I told her. "Go hang out with your friends." She gave me a weird look. "Are you mad?" she asked. "I'm just sad you never want to spend time with me," I said. That got a sarcastic response about how short my temper was and how I should stop acting like a kid. I muttered, "Foolish me," and just stood there, letting it all sink in. For once, I just wanted us to spend a nice evening together. She gave me this sly little grin and walked out the door. Once she was gone, I pulled out my second phone and started tracking the one I'd planted in her car. Sure enough, it showed she was about 15 minutes away at that same bar she always talked about. I decided to drive over there. Her car was right there in the parking lot, just like the phone said. I parked across the street, feeling more like a stalker than a husband. But I needed to know. I told myself to stay calm and just watch. About an hour later, I saw her walk out of the bar with a man. He looked like some bigwig executive type. He pulled her in, kissed her, and she didn't pull away. I just sat there numb. My stomach twisted into knots. They walked over to another car, got in together, and pulled out of the lot. I followed. 15 minutes later, they pulled into a hotel parking lot. I watched them get out, hand in hand, and walk inside. That was it. I'd seen enough. I started slamming my fist against the steering wheel, just trying to process what I'd just seen. Something inside me went blank. I don't know if I blacked out or what, but once I came to, I just wanted a drink. That night marked the beginning of a new path in my life, one I never thought I'd be on. I got in the car and started driving away from the city, just letting the images play over and over in my mind. I'm not proud of it, but I was crying, mad as hell and heartbroken all at once. Eventually, I found this small tavern about 40 miles out of town and pulled in. I sat down at the bar and ordered a drink. The bartender, a woman, looked at me and said I looked like someone had knocked the wind out of me. I gave her a half smile. You could say that. A guy sat down next to me and started chatting. I didn't really feel like talking, but something about him made it easy. After a while, I told him about what I'd just gone through, about my wife and what I'd seen. He gave me a pat on the back and said, "You're not alone, buddy. I went through something like that a few years back. These things, they happen for a reason. And right now, your life could go one of two ways, better or worse. It's all up to you." Something about what he said shook me out of my fog. As much as I was hurting, he was right. I've always been able to look at things clearly, and I knew I had a choice. His name was Cole. Had kind of a country vibe, down to earth and real. I liked him right away. "When are you moving out?" he asked me. Honestly, I hadn't even thought that far ahead. I was just stuck in fight or flight mode and knew I couldn't stay with her much longer. Cole leaned in and said, "I've got an idea. I've got a trailer out on my land. If you ever need to disappear for a bit, it's there for you." Cole told me the trailer wasn't much, needed a little work, but he invited me to come check it out. "See if you could imagine staying in it for a bit," he said. "I'll give you a real good deal. You could even park it on a nice piece of land I've got." Then he added, "If you wouldn't mind keeping an eye on it for me while you're there, that'd be a help too. Might give you the space you need to clear your head." I paused for a moment, trying to wrap my head around the whole thing. The bartender, who'd been listening in, chimed in with a laugh. Shoot, if I'd had the chance to run off to a trailer when I was dealing with my crazy ex, I would have taken it in a heartbeat, just to get my mind right. It was strange, but maybe this was exactly what I needed. Felt like I'd stepped into the twilight zone, but I looked at Cole and said, "Yeah, I'll think about it. Might come take a look." After a while, we said our goodbyes and agreed to meet at his place in a few days. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had some perspective, like I had an escape route out of this heartbreak nightmare. One thing was absolutely clear. I didn't want to spend another second of my life with my wife. Cheating's one of those things I always swore I'd never tolerate. And now that it had happened, I knew I meant it. That night, when I got home, I sat on the couch, lost in thought. Amanda came out and asked, "Where have you been?" I turned and looked right at her. "Where have you been?" I asked. She shrugged. "I told you, I went out for drinks." Then I asked her straight up, "Are you seeing someone else?" She looked caught off guard at first, but quickly recovered. "No," she said. "Why would you even ask me that?" "I heard you might be messing around with someone at work," I told her. "Who told you that?" she asked, her voice sharp. "Someone I trust," I said, but I didn't give her a name. She rolled her eyes. "You're being ridiculous," she snapped. "Are you drunk or something? You sound crazy." "I'm going to the bar," I replied calmly. "Gonna go out for a few drinks with some friends." She looked like she had more questions, but instead of pushing, she went back to the bedroom and closed the door. Now that I had proof in my head, seeing her with that guy, I decided I'd sleep on the couch. Couldn't even close my eyes. All I saw when I shut them was her in that hotel room with him. The hurt was deep, and the anger burned. But then I thought about Cole's trailer. That thought actually gave me a little hope. Almost felt like a sign. I started to realize something. Maybe the fight or flight instinct was kicking in, and in this case, I was all about flight. I just wanted out. The next morning, we didn't talk much. Weekend rolled on like nothing had happened. But I kept moving forward in my head. A few days later, I met up with Cole. Turned out, his ranch was beautiful. And that trailer? It wasn't bad at all. About 28 feet long, fully furnished. It actually reminded me of a college spring break trip I took with my buddies. Those were good times. Cole took the cash I offered. Honestly, he could have asked for more and I still would have paid it. After that, he gave me directions to his property so I could see where the trailer would go. It was gorgeous out there. Lots of trees, trails for hiking and biking, peaceful, quiet. His little cabin sat on a hill overlooking everything, and the trailer spot had electric and water hookups ready to go. Not too far from the foothills of some mountains. Perfect. Cole promised he'd get the trailer hauled out there and set it all up for me. Meanwhile, back home, I tried to give Amanda a chance to come clean. Over the next few weeks, I gave her openings, asked direct questions, gave her warning after warning. Told her there was no coming back if I found out for sure. But she just kept digging deeper into the lies. Got more defensive, more angry. It was almost funny how bad the denials were. Honestly, I nearly laughed out loud at one point. I beat myself up for not taking photos that night outside the bar and hotel. I didn't have concrete proof, just burned-in memories. That was the moment I decided I was done. I didn't want to talk it out anymore. I wanted out. So I started making quiet moves. While she was at work, I began moving my stuff out of our apartment, little by little, into the trailer. It felt good, like I was actually doing something instead of just sitting in pain. Funny enough, during that time, I noticed Amanda acting a little nicer toward me, but I didn't buy it. It felt fake, or like maybe she could sense I was slipping away. She kept going to company events and happy hours. Same old routine. One night, just as she was heading out, I started getting dressed too, like I had plans of my own. She glanced over at me and asked where I was heading. I just said, meeting up with some friends. Before she could press me with more questions, I added, you wouldn't enjoy it. Just a bunch of shop talk, and you don't know any of them. That was the exact line she used to feed me anytime I asked if I could tag along to one of her office events. All right, have fun, she said, with that familiar little offended look on her face. Oh, I will, I said, and I meant it. Over the next few days, I kept working on the trailer and spending time with Cole at the bar. Ended up meeting some of his friends and even his family. They were all good folks. Real down-to-earth people. Honestly, being around them helped. I even decided to ease up on the drinking. Last thing I needed was to trade one problem for another. It would have been easy to sit around and feel sorry for myself, but I knew better. Then Amanda told me she had a work trip coming up the next week. I asked who was going, and she said it was the executive team and some department heads. I looked at her and said, hope you and your boyfriend have a great time. Yeah, I regretted saying it the second it came out of my mouth. It lit a fire under her, and we got into a nasty argument. But as Cole told me later, it don't really matter who the guy is. What matters is, she chose to betray you. He was right. Whether she wanted to admit it or not, she was the one who destroyed our marriage. Cole had a way of laying it out plain, like he could write a guidebook for folks who've been cheated on. So while she was off on that work trip, I took my shot. I packed up everything that was mine, clothes, electronics, tools, important stuff. I didn't take any furniture or anything we bought together. Just my things. I didn't want to fight over who got the toaster. Before I left, I wrote a note. At first, I tried writing something long, but then I realized she didn't deserve that. So I kept it short. I hope it was worth it. Left that note on the kitchen table and set my wedding ring right on top. Walking out of that place, I felt lighter. Free. The pain was still there, sure, and it was going to stick around for a while, but I had finally started healing. I needed space. I needed quiet. And I needed to cut her out without the yelling, without the begging, without the drama. She didn't deserve that from me. She'd already tossed out everything we'd dreamed of, home, family, future. It was gone. All of it. There was no going back. I didn't owe her a thing anymore. Let her face the consequences of her choices. I hadn't called a lawyer. I hadn't told her my plans. I just wanted peace. And I found it out there in the mountains. When I stepped into that trailer and took a deep breath of fresh mountain air, it felt like the first real breath I'd taken in months. I started running again the next week, something I hadn't done in a long time. It felt good to move, to sweat, to feel alive again. Meanwhile, Amanda was texting me like nothing had happened. We just landed. Team dinner tonight. Where are you? Why haven't you answered? I didn't respond. Once she got back and realized I was gone, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree, calls, texts, nonstop. I ignored every one of them. Even her mom tried calling me after a day or two. I didn't answer. And I knew she wouldn't bother trying my dad. We're not close. He's the only family I've got left, and even that's just barely. By the end of the week, her messages were more frantic. What is this? We need to talk. I don't know what you think you know, but there's nothing going on. There's no affair. And then, finally, a confession sort of. She wrote, I'm sorry things got out of hand. It didn't mean anything that I was involved with someone at work. You were gone a lot, and I was overwhelmed with my job. I made a mistake. I was planning to end it. Just a mistake. That was the message I'd been waiting for, but when it finally came, all it did was make me hate her a little more. She couldn't even be honest. Mistake? That's what she called it? A mistake doesn't go on for 6 months. Or 7. Or a year. Her messages eventually went from sad to just plain pitiful. She kept asking me to come back, to work on things, to talk. I didn't answer, not once. Even after she gave it a rest for a few weeks, I still kept quiet. I didn't want her knowing where I lived, and I sure didn't want her nosing around in the new life I was trying to build. That trailer of mine? It had become my safe place. I wasn't about to let her ruin that too. Then she flipped the script and started sending nasty texts. Stuff like, you're a coward. You don't care about us. Come home so we can talk. Then, where are you? I can come to you. Tyler, please, she begged. Let's talk. Let's make this right. But it all sounded like excuses. And if there was any real regret, it didn't come through. I didn't hold on to those words. Let them come in one ear and go out the other. Eventually, I changed my number. Just needed peace. I got an email from her one day saying she'd hired a lawyer and was filing for divorce. I wrote back, okay, that sounds good. After that, I got a bunch of emails asking to meet, to talk, to get closure. When she saw none of it was working, she said she'd leave me alone if I agreed to an uncontested divorce. So I did. And a few months later, it was final. I was free. Once I moved out of the apartment, I never saw her again. Honestly, she seemed more torn up about it than I was, even though neither of us ever got real closure. For a few months, I'd still think about her now and then. Sometimes a song we used to love would hit me out of nowhere, and the pain would come rushing back. But over time, I just stopped thinking about her. Now that the divorce is official, life's been pretty great. I actually met someone new. Not that I was looking. It just happened. I was out running the trail near my place, just down the hill, when I helped a woman change a flat tire. We hit it off right away. She's a little younger than me, sweet as can be, and absolutely adorable. She calls me her mountain man, says she loves my way of living. I'm not rushing into anything, but I haven't given up on love, either. And I've got no plans to leave my trailer anytime soon. I love the simplicity, being out in the fresh air, living my own way. It helped me heal, helped me find myself again. Look, everyone handles heartbreak differently. I was lucky we were only 3 years into the marriage. We didn't have kids yet. That made things easier. I did what I had to do for me. Because no one deserves to stay in a relationship with someone who cheats. If something like this ever happens to you, don't let it ruin your life. Keep moving forward. Work on yourself. It gets better, I promise. I truly hope everyone reading this lives the best life they can. But about my ex. See, I started to worry that she was trying to find me. Like I said before, I moved out of our old place about 2 hours away from where we lived. Then, last weekend, I walked into this coffee shop I go to in the next town over. It's about 15 minutes from my trailer. I go there all the time. And wouldn't you know it? I saw her. It didn't feel like a coincidence. Luckily, she didn't see me, and I slipped out before she could. Well, I wasn't as lucky the next time. This past weekend, I ran into town for groceries and stopped by that same coffee shop. I was using the free Wi-Fi to handle some paperwork for work. When I finished and stepped outside, I was headed to my pickup when I heard it. Tyler. I turned around, and there she was. Amanda, waving at me from across the street. My heart dropped. There it was. The moment I'd been hoping would never come. She came rushing over, like she was expecting a hug or something. As she got close, I instinctively held out my arms, palms up, stopping her in her tracks. She looked hurt. Real hurt. "I've been looking for you, Tyler," she said. "Ever since I heard you moved out here. I've wanted to talk." I felt like a wild animal backed into a corner. Every instinct told me to run, but I stayed put. "All right," I finally said. "We can talk. Let's find a table or something. But we're not going to my place." She agreed and followed me down to a little bench outside a small shop. She started with compliments. Said I looked different. Said she liked my beard, my build. Went on about how much my body had changed. She was wearing a tank top, white shorts, hair in a ponytail, exactly the way I used to like. Yeah, she was laying it on thick. I had my guard way up. She was clearly trying to use her looks to sway me, and I had to stay sharp. I needed to keep my cool and see where this was really going. She started off by apologizing for the affair. Said that after I left, karma came for her hard. Her boss found out about the cheating, and things got so tense at work that she ended up quitting. The guy she cheated with, her affair partner, was engaged at the time. He got a bunch of heat for it and got moved to another department. Then, when he tried to blame everything on her, she told his fiancée the truth. That ended their engagement. After telling me that, she looked down and started crying. I didn't say a word, just sat there, looking around. Then she sat back up, looked at me, and I asked, "What do you want from me?" She swore she never meant to cheat. Said it was the politics at her job, the way her AP used his charm to pull her in. She said she knew it was wrong but felt like they were both using each other. Claimed she was planning to come clean after I caught her. Said she drank after work because she hated herself for what she'd done. That she felt stupid, alone, and broken the minute I walked out. She told me she ended things with him right after I left, and that when I wouldn't talk to her or return her messages, she knew she had to find me just to see if there was even the smallest chance to fix things. She said she wanted a fresh start. Even though we were already divorced, she hoped we could try again. I just stared at her for a minute. Then I told her the truth. "You don't get to show up here and try to undo everything you broke. You really think I'm just going to forget how you destroyed our marriage?" I reminded her of what I said the day I left. If she ever cheated, we were done. No forgiveness. No second chances. "This relationship is dead," I said. "You killed it the moment you stepped out on me." Then I hit her with something she didn't expect. "Did you know I saw you that night? I watched you walk into that hotel with him." Her face changed. People nearby were starting to notice my voice getting louder, and I could feel the emotion boiling over. She grabbed my arm and started crying. I let her cry on my shoulder for a bit, then gently pushed her back. "I deserve this," she said through her tears. "All of it. I know I do." Then she asked me something I didn't expect. "If nothing else, can I take you out to dinner? Please." I told her I'd rather not, but I did want to talk a little more. I wanted everything out in the open. "You need to be more honest with me now than you ever were before," I said. She looked at me and said, "Tyler, I love you. I know you probably don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. I didn't realize how much until you were gone." Then she broke down completely. She said I hurt her just as much as she hurt me, that she couldn't forgive herself and didn't want to. She was sobbing, practically hyperventilating. So I helped her stand and gave her a hug. It felt like the only thing I could do in that moment. Right then, I realized she was just as heartbroken as I had been. We started walking and found a quiet spot to keep talking. Once she had calmed down, I asked her the question that had been on my mind. "How'd you find me? Did you hire someone?" She laughed a little and shook her head. Turned out, she ran into Lauren a few weeks back and started asking about me. Lauren didn't say much, just that I was doing okay. But Amanda kept pushing until Lauren finally admitted I was living somewhere near town. Even though I had told Lauren not to say anything, Amanda started coming around on her days off, just hoping to spot me. I chuckled and shook my head. Dang it, Lauren can't keep a secret. Amanda blushed. We eventually decided to grab dinner at this quiet little place with a patio. I made sure we didn't drink anything, didn't want to give her any excuse to act like it was just the wine talking, or worse, to get behind the wheel drunk. And truth be told, dinner went okay. We talked. Really talked. Afterward, I walked her to her car. She told me she hadn't been with anyone since I left. Promised I was still the only man she wanted. She asked me to stay longer. To just give her a little more time. But I couldn't. I told her, no, it's still way too early for that. She asked me to come back. I didn't say yes. After everything, I gave her my new email address, but nothing else. She asked for my phone number, but I said, "You'll just blow it up with texts and calls." She cried a little, but in the end, she agreed it was probably for the best. Before she left, she promised she'd email me about coming back to town next weekend. Right before she got in her car, I asked her something that had been nagging at me. If I had been the one who cheated, would you have forgiven me? She paused, thought for a bit, and then said, "Yes. In time. But only if we saw a marriage counselor, talked through everything, and maybe even signed some kind of binding agreement." I said, "All right. Maybe I could do that. In 5 or 10 years." She looked right at me and said, "Then I'd wait. If that's what it takes." Then she grabbed both my hands, looked me square in the eyes, and said, "God damn it, Tyler, I will always love you. I'll do anything to prove it." That hit me hard. I wasn't expecting it. Even after she left, those words stuck with me. She said them with such force and certainty, but I still couldn't picture us ever being together again. Sure, I felt better about everything that had happened, but I couldn't even think of her as a friend right now. Maybe someday, but that was still up in the air. I went home, took a long run, cracked a beer, and just sat there thinking about how far I'd come. Part of me just wanted someone to promise she wouldn't come back and wreck the peace I'd finally built for myself. But truth is, I didn't know. I still needed time. Everything was still too fresh. But to sum things up, I ghosted my ex-wife for over a year after her affair. Eventually, she tracked me down and wanted to start over. She said she was sorry, that she still loved me, and that she wanted a second chance. If you were expecting me to be the typical nice guy and take her back, I hate to disappoint you, but that's not how this ends. Last week, she sent me a long email pouring her heart out. She asked if she could come stay with me again for the weekend. My response? I shut it down. Told her I wasn't interested in fixing things. I'm perfectly happy on my own. I've got peace and quiet, and I plan to keep it that way. I'm 33 now, not in any rush to change my life. I've got my own goals, my own plan, and I've enjoyed spending time with a few good people along the way. I told her, plain and simple, I don't plan to reconcile. I'm not giving you my phone number. You made your bed. I wished her the best. Told her maybe, we could be friends someday, but not now. She didn't like that answer. Not one bit. Turns out, she'd accepted a job in another state. Her plan all along had been to get me to move with her, figured since I work remotely, it'd be easy. She thought we could start fresh, somewhere far away. That's why she wanted to see me one more time. She was almost out of time. Lucky for me, I had a work trip lined up and would be out of town anyway. So that was that. I'm thankful I won't have to deal with her anymore. She'll realize soon enough that her time with me is over. But I won't be surprised if she sends a few more emails before she moves on. Hopefully, she finds someone else. Who knows, maybe she'll cheat on them, too. To anyone listening this, live your life. Don't stay stuck in the past. You're stronger than you think. Wishing you all the best.